Good evening. I'm Constance Starkey, and this is Eye on the Issues. Our show this evening is going to be a little different from what you're used to seeing here on Eye on the Issues. Recently, Ambassador Joe Wilson was invited here to talk to a group in Thousand Oaks, and later on in the program, we'll be showing you a clip from that appearance. Why Ambassador Wilson was here was due in part to the efforts of tonight's guest, Mary Pallant. Anyone involved at all in politics here in the Conejo Valley and throughout Ventura County will be extremely familiar with the exceptional work Mary has contributed to the Democratic Party. She has been a volunteer, organizer, speaker, and activist pursuant to many important issues and projects, including being a founding steering committee member for the Valley for Cary 2004 committee, which received national recognition. She was an advocate on behalf of the No on 85 campaign, worked in support of the police, firefighters, teachers, and the California employees unions in opposition to Governor Schwarzenegger's special election. She worked in support of the Clean Money Initiative and has been instrumental in the organization of several peace rallies, going so far as to lead a delegation to Congressman Galligley's office asking to stop the surge of troops in Iraq and to stop the funding of the war. Mary has been an elected delegate for the 41st Assembly District since 2005. She is the commissioner and chair for the Ventura County Commission for Women. And what we're going to be talking to her about tonight is her current role as organizer and host for the Ventura County Speaker Series. Mary, thank you for being with us this evening.
Thank you for inviting me.
I want to talk to you a little bit before we get to the clip about Joe Wilson. How did you get involved with the Speaker Series?
Well, I didn't get involved. I started it. I saw a need in Ventura County, and I wanted to bring a lot of these great minds out that I was hosting in the San Fernando Valley, where I was very active, as you mentioned, with Valley for Cary and other organizations. And I have a lot of contacts, and I wanted to bring them out here to help inspire and create dialogue in Ventura County.
Mm-hmm. And so what's the primary objective of the series? I mean, obviously it's to inform people, but is there a long-term plan?
Well, part of my objective, too, is to provide these speakers with a venue, to bring them out to Ventura County, and also to allow the public to participate at low cost or no cost, too. Because there is a speaker series at the Thousand Oaks Civics, but it's very expensive. Mm-hmm. And so I am of the belief that everybody who wishes to participate and to hear this information from any of these fabulous speakers, that they have the opportunity to attend.
That's great. And so we're going to be talking to Mary a little more about the speaker series later on in the program. But before we do, I would like to take this opportunity to talk about some of the footage that we're going to show you from the recent appearance in Thousand Oaks of Ambassador Joe Wilson, an appearance that was co-sponsored by the Ventura County Speaker Series. I don't think there's anyone who doesn't know who Ambassador Wilson is and isn't aware of the circumstances through which he and his wife Valerie Plame came to be at the center of the Plame-Gay controversy. We're all well aware of the ambassador's trip to Africa, in which, in February of 2002, that he was sent there by the CIA to investigate reports that Iraq had sought to reconstitute its nuclear weapons program by the purchase of yellow cake uranium from Niger. His op-ed piece, published in the New York Times on July 6, 2003, titled "What I Didn't Find in Africa," where he accused the Bush administration of exaggerating the Iraqi threat in order to justify war. Many, including the Wilsons, believe was the impetus for the subsequent outing of his wife Valerie Plame as a CIA operative. Something you may not know is Ambassador Wilson served under President George Bush Sr. from 1988 to 1991 as the Deputy Chief of Mission at the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, Iraq. He was praised by President Bush at the time for sheltering more than 100 Americans at the embassy, despite Saddam Hussein's threats to execute anyone who refused to hand over foreigners. As a result, in 1990, he also became the last American diplomat to meet with Saddam Hussein. He began his career as a General Services Officer from 1976 to 1978 in Niger. He served in one official capacity or another in South Africa and in Iraq for more than 20 years thereafter. If ever there was anyone qualified to get to the heart of the information and make assessments regarding any activities involving Niger and Iraq, it was certainly Joe Wilson. Ambassador Wilson has now authored several books about his experiences in the diplomatic service and the events which continue to unfold as the result of his bravery in speaking out against the war in Iraq. He also spends much of his time traveling across the country, speaking to groups such as the one that gathered at California Lutheran University on May 17th of this year, an event that was co-sponsored by CLU's Master of Public Policy and Administration and the Ventura County Speaker Series. So now, with that little bit of background, we will now let you hear from Ambassador Joe Wilson himself.
Side of the aisle as they're trying to get your votes. In my judgment, this administration has compromised three fundamental national security objectives in the region. First and foremost, as it relates to the global war on terror, by our actions in Iraq, which are widely seen throughout the world as illegal and for reasons other than defense of our own national security. We have literally made hundreds of millions of enemies, of whom tens of thousands will likely be willing to do something bad to our people or our interests, either overseas or here at home. And if your objective is to try and make yourself safer from these sorts of people, what the hell have these guys done to infuriate them even further? They have compromised our national security interests as it relates to the war on terror. Secondly, so long as we are a petroleum-based economy, and being now in California for the last several days, it's pretty clear to me that we remain a petroleum-based economy. One of our national security objectives in the region is to continue to have unfettered access to the strategic oil fields of the region. And one of the things, of course, one of the consequences of our actions in Iraq is we have essentially destabilized the region, and we have guaranteed that for the next generation there will be restive populations in the region who will want to use the one weapon at their disposal to somehow weaken us, and that is the fact that they control the petroleum oil fields and we don't. And our objective ought to be going forward is how best do we position ourselves so that we can achieve that particular strategic objective while hopefully we get serious about transitioning from a petroleum-based economy to new forms of energy. But there will be a period for that. And it is very clear that we are not defending or promoting those interests by our presence in Iraq at the current time. And thirdly, and one that is not widely discussed, I believe that this administration has seriously compromised our own strategic interest in having the preservation of the territorial integrity and the national security of our strategic ally in the region, the one democracy in the region, Israel. Israel has been associated with us for over a generation. Those Arab states and those Arab populations that hate us but don't have the reach to come over here and get us here in the Conejo Valley may well start lobbing Katyusha rockets more frequently into Israel and threatening the national security of one of the countries with which we have a very intimate relationship in the region. Three fundamental areas where our national security interests and our strategic concerns have been compromised by the activities of this administration. Now, I don't believe that it is useful for us to continue to have a debate on our presence in Iraq that is reduced to political slogans. In fact, my view is that when you start talking about this debate as stay the course versus cut and run, what you are essentially doing is you're having a political debate on the backs of those people that are over there fighting the war on behalf of all of us as citizens. The way to think of this is to think about what to do with our troops at this stage of the occupation. In October, before the election, there was a debate in Congress that was reduced to stay the course versus cut and run. And the senator from Arizona, John Kyle, I don't know how many of you know John Kyle. He's not a very nice man.